years after all this time, in that high and wide blue yonder, I don't know why I write these lines. It's not like I could send you the letter. It's that I love you more after all this time. It's that I wish I'd shown you better. Years have slipped beneath my wheels, dwindling in my rearview mirror. As time has passed, your life has seemed less real. But these night drives bring you nearer. So tonight I'll wish upon these stars as they rise upward to guide me, that I'll see you here just as you are. Now as then beside me. It scares me how the years have flown, like the leaves drift in September. They lost sight of you as your legends grown. But this road and I, we remember.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to those of you who are here in person and those who are joining us via live stream. There's no greater calling for you folks today than to be here for this family as they stand here brokenhearted with the enormity of their loss. But they are also here in a spirit of gratitude for having had Andrew Conrad Shaw in their lives for the time that they did. And so we are here together to celebrate Andrew's life. My name is Eunice Friesen, and I'm honored to be here today. While I never had the opportunity to meet Andrew, I did have a sense of the kind of man he was through my friend Mel. And the other day I got to meet Bill and Susan, Katie, Rebecca, and Abby, and listen to them as they reminisced about the larger-than-life man who meant so much to them. And I'm sure he meant a lot to each of you as well. So in a bit, we'll have an open mic, and I always give fair warning so that if you have a story you would kind of like to share, you have a few minutes to screw up your courage and come and share it during the open mic time. And before Andrew's family comes to share their tributes, I'd like to read just a short poem by Wendell Berry. This poem speaks of the soothing, restorative power of nature, something that Andrew understood so well. It's called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in the beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Andrew was a pretty special gift right from the start. He was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia on Christmas Day, 1982, the firstborn child to Bill and Susan Shaw. Well, not only that, but he was the first grandchild on Susan's side and the first boy born in the family in 50 years. As a young man, Andrew ventured west, where he found a productive career in Grand Prairie, Alberta, working for Halliburton. He enjoyed plentiful and long-lasting friendships with his colleagues, which developed throughout his career at Halliburton. He was proud to represent the company on trips to Argentina and a cross-continental journey through Australia. Andrew's true passions were outdoor adventures, which he vigorously pursued. Many of Andrew's adventures revolved around the water. He began his fishing career at age 2 years, and he perfected it throughout his life. He was an expert with a salmon spey rod, hand-tied his own flies from the age of 8, and he only revealed his secret fishing spots to those closest to him. His home-smoked trout was phenomenal and highly prized by all. Andrew's water adventures continued on his beloved Outlaw Lynx jet boat, with which he explored the remote rivers and the lakes of northern Alberta and British Columbia. As much as he loved adventuring on the boat, there was nothing he loved more than having his family members join him. A highlight of his jet boating career was Canada Day 2021, the weekend spent on the Wapiti with his daughter Ab, partner Mel, and both his sisters and their families. But fishing and jet boating were only 2 aspects of his water adventures. He was also an expert sailor scuba diver, skilled at snorkeling, which he, of course, combined with spearfishing. Andrew also enjoyed spending time swimming with friends and family and could pull off a monster cannonball. In the fall, his rival passion was big game hunting. He specialized in elk hunting. Many years of practice perfected his elk calling and stalking skills. These skills were especially appreciated by his father, whose birthday happily coincided with opening day. They both enjoyed the annual birthday elk hunting trip for many years. Andrew was always generous in sharing his animals and was famous for his renowned culinary skills. In the winter, Andrew loved snowmobiling in the Canadian Rockies. He spent many enjoyable weekends at the sled camp at Kakwa. The incredible vistas, the fresh powder, and the crisp, clean mountain air were his reward for his passion. But he spent the first 18 years of his life in Nova Scotia, and it always held a special place in his heart. He made frequent trips back east to keep up with family, friends, and the places dear to his childhood. The oceans, rivers, and beaches called his name, and he formed many memories there. He loved to camp on the Lehave Islands, fish mackerel in the Atlantic, and salmon on the Margaree. These are just some of Andrew's stories of Andrew's life, but no one can breathe meaning into a story like family. Those who have borne firsthand witness to Andrew's life. I'd like to invite them now to share tributes with you.
What best describes Andrew Shaw? Big. Big feet, big hands, big life. All around the biggest gentle giant. But most of all, Andrew Shaw had the biggest heart. When Andrew, Rebecca, and I were young, we spent a lot of time together where Andrew looked out for his little sisters, most of the time. Being the big brother, Andrew was always extraordinarily strong-minded in what he wanted. When he turned 2 on Christmas Day, all Andrew wanted was a chainsaw, or as he would say, Shane-saw. He tore through all of his gifts, whipping them all over his head, saying, "That's not a chainsaw, that's not a chainsaw," until finally Mom realized we had better give Andrew a chainsaw. Andrew was delighted and proceeded to chainsaw everything in sight. Mom had to tell Andrew repeatedly he was not allowed to cut his new baby sister with the chainsaw. Andrew cut so hard that the chain came off. He was so upset that he ran into the closet and hid. Growing up, we always spent a substantial amount of time together on the water. When we received the news Zodiac that Andrew and my father won in the Halifax Shark Fishing Derby, we used it all the time. Andrew taught me how to use the outboard motor so I could tow him behind on the boogie board. The water of the North Atlantic was choppy and rough. As I drove the boat, I could faintly hear Andrew screaming at me. I thought he was saying, "Slow down, slow down." So I slowed him into a huge smack of jellyfish. I couldn't hear it, but my pa listening from the sailboat could hear numerous choice words Andrew had for me. Andrew loved all water, and fishing, no doubt, was his absolute greatest passion. When we were young and went on camping trips, we used to leave Andrew on random docks all over Eastern Canada for the day, as he never wanted to do anything apart from fishing. He would fish in any condition. He was always up for a few more casts. In fact, my first time going fishing with Andrew out west was at One Island Lake. It took several hours to do one lap around the lake. Just when I thought we could pack it in for the day, Andrew was adamant that we do just one more lap. Andrew's true religion was the wilderness. He adored fishing, hunting, sledding, his beloved jet boat, hiking and camping. Regardless of what Andrew was doing in the wilderness, he absolutely enjoyed doing those things with the people that he loved the most. Andrew knew that happiness is best enjoyed when it's shared. Andrew was besotted with his beautiful partner Mel and his 2 daughters, Abby and Alicia. Words will never describe how much he loved them. He was so happy that they all enjoyed the outdoors with him, and it brought Andrew immense joy to teach them his outdoor skills. He especially enjoyed showing Abby to hand-tie flies for fishing in his special room designated to tie many. Andrew was very meticulously organized and particular with his things. He gave the utmost care to all of his belongings. Everything had its place and was to be kept neat and tidy. When I first moved in with Andrew, and I got a pepper seed on the floor, he told me that pepper seeds were his arch nemesis. He then went on to teach me how to properly cut a pepper over the garbage without getting a single seed on the floor. The biggest gift that my brother gave me was the gift of a new life in Alberta. I am eternally grateful to him for saving my life and giving me the opportunity to build a successful, fruitful, productive, and lucrative life in Alberta. I would never be where I am today without the love and support of my big brother. My brother, Andrew Conrad Shaw, is undoubtedly, without question, the legendary king of the bush. He will be remembered and loved by so many. How lucky are we to love someone so much that when they leave us, we hurt so badly. Grief is the price we pay for love.
Let's lower this. So Andrew and I met in 2017 over a massive Caesar at Better Than Fred's. I didn't know it at the time, but the man sitting across from me would become the love of my life, the greatest adventure partner I could ever imagine, and the father to my daughter. We went from a casual Caesar to taking a 3-day fishing trip in his beloved canoe to the backside of Moline Lake in Jasper. The weekend was incredible, and I was able to get my first glimpse of how comfortable Andrew was in nature and with a fishing rod. I remember watching him in awe at the ease of his movements as he brought fish into the boat as he walked through the woods. Andrew was meant to be in the great outdoors. On our next adventure, Andrew took me to Canuso Falls on a weekend camping trip during his next set of days off. I forgot boots, and he, of course, forgot the roof of the boat, and it rained very hard. On our way up the Murray River, an insane downpour and thunderstorm hit us. Andrew put a tarp over the top of the boat to keep us dry and cranked his beloved stereo cooler, which is literally a stereo in a cooler. And we had a dance party on the side of the river. Hi, Alicia. He knew how to make the best out of a situation, and he always brought the fun. Our initial connection was built on days off adventuring and planning our next trip. On our adventures, I learned what Andrew was passionate about and what he was capable of. However, it wasn't until I met his daughter, Abby, that I truly understood who Andrew was. On the outside, Andrew was a 6'5" giant mega babe who had superhuman strength. I met Abby 2 years into our relationship, and it was through spending family time together that I truly got to see Andrew's kind soul. The first day I met Abby, the three of us colored pictures of random unicorn-like animals and gave them ridiculous names. Then we posted them all over the house with tape on Andrew's pristine walls, which he hated every second of it, and we were so happy to do it. Oh, man. We sat around the table drawing those animals for hours. Andrew was so gentle and loving with his daughter that it was impossible not to fall deeper in love with him. I eventually met and fell in love with his beautiful family. Both his sisters lived in Grand Prairie, so we were able to get together for holidays and random events. Sitting around the table with the Shaws and the McDonalds always included lots of laughs, hilarious stories of growing up, board games, and fun times with the kids. Uncle Andrew was a fan favorite and lit up the room as soon as he saw his niece and his nephew. I soon met his parents and was able to understand how Andrew became the man he was. His dad shared and instilled Andrew's love for nature, hunting, and fishing. His mom's kindness and gentleness could be seen when he was connecting with his loved ones and playing with the kids. He loved his family so much, and I have never seen him happier than when we were all together. Some might argue with my last statement about family. A very close second to making Andrew happy was catching fish or hunting big game. In 2018, Andrew and I discovered giant trout heaven on wild Williston Lake. He was obsessed with that place as soon as he hooked a massive bull trout, like massive bull trout. Williston Lake became an annual summer trip that we both loved. We would be sitting in his jet boat on lawn chairs as we crashed across the lake, water splashing up over the boat so we could explore the mountain rivers. He took me on several hunting trips. On one, we got a moose, and on another, we got an elk, with plenty of prairie chickens in between. We spent countless nights in his green Eureka tent, away from civilization, which brought Andrew peace. We were always in the middle of grizzly country, in a tent, without a gun, but it didn't matter. I knew that Andrew would protect me. Our greatest adventure together was when we brought Alicia home to live with us. He welcomed her with an open heart and open arms and wanted to be dad the minute she walked in. Alicia made Andrew work for her love, and once he had it, their tender, loving relationship continued to bloom. He looked after us, and he loved being her dad. Our time with Andrew as a father, son, brother, partner, and friend was cut short. He had many dreams to accomplish and played an important role in so many of our lives. I'm so grateful for the time we had together, but I know there will always be a void that can only be filled by Andrew.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca McDonald, Andrew's littlest sister. That is littlest by age, not to be confused as the short sibling. That's my sister, Katie. This afternoon, I have the honor of speaking on behalf of Abigail, Andrew's oldest daughter, who he affectionately referred to as Ab. Andrew and Ab were an adventurous pair. They embarked on many journeys together. Some of the most memorable times for Ab were the camping trips with her aunts and cousins, where Andrew would take us all up the river on his boat. The days spent eating freezies, digging in the sand, and cooling off in the waters of the Wapiti. Another memory that sticks out is when Ab was younger and had quite the affection for princess dresses. Andrew would pick Ab up on his days off, drive all the way to Edmonton, buy Ab's favorite princess dress, turn around, and drive all the way home. These trips would often be accompanied by singing together to Frozen's Let It Go and other Disney princess songs. Their adventures continued each year with a summer holiday back to Nova Scotia, where Ab would always tease Andrew about being able to catch more mackerel than he could, which of course was a joke that cost many, many mackerel their lives. These trips also included summer camping on the LaHave Islands, isolated and only accessible by boat. Andrew was an expert at finding the perfect spot to camp on the sandy beach, light up a bonfire. He enjoyed telling Abby about his childhood, exploring these waters and beaches, as well as teaching her about hermit crabs and other sea life that they came across. Last summer, they spent an entire sunny day snorkeling together in the shallow waters around the islands. For a recent Father's Day, Abby made a gift for Andrew that listed the top 10 reasons I love my dad. Number 1, you take me boating. Number 2, you take me to Nova Scotia. Number 3, we go on walks together. Number 4, you make me laugh. Number 5, we go fishing. And 6, we go swimming. Number 7, we listen to music together. Number 8, we go on fun drives. And 9, we go for ice cream. And 10, we go see horses, of which Abby recently got a horse. Andrew was a father who loved deeply. This was evident if you ever saw him with Abby or were privileged enough to witness an interaction between him and the newest member of his family, little Alicia. The sweet girl brought so much joy into his life. He would talk about how she changed his everyday life, but also about the future and the things that he couldn't wait to teach her and the experiences that they would share together. Andrew, as a father, you have left a hole that I, as an auntie, can't possibly fill. But I promise that I will love your girls and be there for them in the way that only family can be. Rest easy, my dear brother.
Hi, I am Bill Shaw, Andrew's father these past 40 years. And I'd like to thank you all for coming and showing your respect. And I want to acknowledge how wonderful Halliburton's been for Andrew. Got him out here in the first place some 18 years ago because he was a tree surgeon cutting down trees, and he came out here, and all of a sudden he didn't make twice as much, he made 4 times as much. So that was, and it's been wonderful ever since. It was a great career, and he loved it and was proud of it. And well, I was always trying to get him to talk about it, but he'd rather talk about the bushes and where we were going and what we were hunting or what we were fishing rather than talking about shop talk, hydrofracking. All my kids, Rebecca and Katie and Andrew, they've all come west to Alberta, for which we're very, very grateful. And they all live and work in the gas fields, all proud to be here in Alberta. And you need to never worry, no one ever needs to worry about them voting Liberal. It's a living they found deep in the ground, and if there's doubts, it's best they ignore them or think on the bones, the crosses and stones of their fathers they left home behind them. So I'd like to, first of all, take partial credit, a lot of credit for Andrew's gargantuan, superhuman strength. I had a theory when he was first born that I have lots of theories about a lot of weird things, but one of mine was that if you exercised an infant's muscles, that even though whether they're putting any effort into it or thinking about it or not, it would have some positive effect down the road. And so that's what I did. I would put Andrew on my knees, sit down, put him on my knees, grab his wrists, and go like this. I thought I heard the old man say, leave her, Johnny, leave her. It's a long, hard pull to the next payday, and it's time for us to leave her. And then, I take his ankles. Say, was you ever down the Congo River? Blow, boys, blow, where fever makes a hard man shiver. Blow me, bully boys, blow. And then I go back to his wrists. Way, haul away, we'll haul away together to me. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. King Louis was the king of France before the revolution to me. We haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. But then he got his head cut off, which spoiled his constitution to me. We haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Anyway, that was how I got through the first few years with him. And next, I'd like to mention Andrew's knot tying ability. Anybody that's ever with him in the bushes, I want to take some credit for that too. He's really, 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 really extraordinary with knots. As anybody that's seen him tie anything down or fasten anything down, he just went on and on and on. He gets that from me. But my grandfather, Andrew's great-grandfather, Frederick Aubrey Palmer, went to sea, born in 1872, went to sea when he was a young man, and lived to be 96. Spent most of his life being a farmer, but those years at sea, when he was young, the one thing that stuck in his head that he never would stop talking about was the king of all knots, of bowline. And he had to tie a bowline deep water fashion. And And he would tell me again and again and again, and he would say, you must be able to tie this knot in the dark when you're blind drunk, hanging upside down in a howling gale. And then he'd show me how to tie a bowl in Deepwater fashion. And I taught Andrew that again and again and again. It will never come out. You can't pull it till it can always be untied, and it will never slip, never come out. The king of all knots, the bowline. And then, after that, another lesson, valuable lesson that he learned early on was how to behave in a canoe. I can remember he was like, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 7 years old. And he was forward in the canoe. I was in the stern. We were paddling out on the ocean, salt water. And it was quite wavy. And he wouldn't sit still, wouldn't stay in the center of the boat. He wouldn't paddle. So I said, okay, well, just sit in the center. But he was always over the side playing in the water and splashing it around like that. And it was making me mad. So I just reached forward with the paddle, and I smacked him on the head like that. And of course, he cried, but it had the most miraculous effect. From ever then on, he would sit dead center, and he was always real fussy about that, you know, the least little bit one way or the other, and he'd move his weight to trim the boat so she's sitting straight. And that he just developed on to be the most skilled, intuitive boatman that I've been in my experience. And soon after moving to Alberta, he learned about fishing in Maligne Lake in Jasper National Park. Probably a lot of you have been there, heard about it, and it's full of rainbow trout and some mostly rainbow, some brook trout. And he said the very best thing that you could have for fishing in Maligne Lake was a Hudson Bay 21 freighter canoe. And I bought him one, and we took it to Maligne Lake and then christened it in 2008. And we called her named her Summer Lightning, after a song by Garnet Rogers. And the reason that most of the songs we'll hear today are by Stan and Garnet Rogers is that their ancestors came with my ancestors to Nova Scotia, Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia, in 1760, a long time ago, 1760, from the Connecticut River Valley in New England on the east coast of the U.S. So we christened it with Lagavulin, 16-year-old Lagavulin whiskey. Andrew and I and a good friend of ours, David Keddy. We are brief as summer lightning. We are swift as swallows' flight. We are sparks that spiral upward in the darkness, in the night. We are frost upon a window. We will never pass this way again. In the end, there's only love remains. And as you know, nature, the bush, was Andrew's religion, and no one had a stronger faith.
Like I said, no one breathes life into the stories like those who lived it with Andrew. And now, if you would like to share a story, I know that Andrew's family would appreciate hearing what you have to say today, or a few words of comfort. So I'd like to open the mic now. if you'd like to come up and share a short story.
I'm BJ Gordon. I've worked with Andrew for the last 13 years and lucky enough to have him as a neighbor for the last 8. My wife told me a little saying the other day, and when an old person dies, a library is burned, so all that knowledge is gone. And that's what Andrew was. He was really a library of information when it came to hunting and fishing and everything outdoors. I wrote a little poem, because I've been hanging out with Bill quite a bit. It won't be as good as his, but here we go. I'm gonna miss our chats over the fence while working in the yard. I'm gonna miss having beers in the garage and going a little too hard. I'm gonna miss his hunting stories with Bill and David Kenny. I'm gonna miss watching him skin a deer, and let me tell you, there was plenty. I'm gonna miss the backyard badminton games and having fun no matter who is the winner. I'm gonna miss after work jet boat rides, watching the sunset on the river. I'm gonna miss his generosity, giving us his fresh elk meat or smoked fish. And I'm gonna miss asking where he caught them, but that was information that he never would dish. But most of all, I'm gonna miss my friend, Andrew Shaw, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you.
I'm Aubrey. I'm Andrew's uncle. I'm from Nova Scotia. And it's interesting. There's a theme that I've picked up here today that really resounds around character. And as I thought over the last few days or week about Andrew, character was the word that kept coming through to me. And many of the stories that you've heard are around that theme. But I've got some that go back a little further that I think are worthy. And so I'll just take a few seconds and tell you some stories that kind of really tell you where Andrew's character came from. One of them was going to be the story that Bill stole, his strength. That's absolutely true. I think Andrew was as strong and as healthy and as able a man as he was because of those. I'm not so sure about the singing. But absolutely, the exercise didn't do the young child any harm. He was only that big when Bill was doing that. Bill shows his arms going like this. The kid's arms were only that long. But you know, one of the things that Andrew was curious and adventurous. And Bill and I, once upon a time, we experienced this. I had a very long floating boat that was more of a military vessel. It was a rubber dinghy. It was probably 30 feet long, way too long. And I had a 4-horsepower outboard on it, which was not hardly enough to make it go. And we determined that we would set off on the Avon River to visit Boot Island. On a good day, the Avon River will run at 6 knots. On a good day, that motor would push the boat 3. So you really had no choice but to go with the tide. Go out to Boot Island and come back. And I was a little timid about having Andrew there because he was only 6 or 7 or 8. I don't know, but he wasn't really old enough, and this thing wasn't that safe. But we loaded him up, and off we went. And the kid had a ball. There were porpoises jumping beside us. There was lots of fish, there was lots of rocks, lots of fossils, lots of excitement, and he just, that curious, adventurous nature shone through even in those early stages. Another trait of Andrew's was his kindness. He was kind to everybody, to the point where he had this kid on the bus that picked on him. And his mother, had been a fairly big child, and his mother said to me, "Did you get picked on when you were little?" "Yeah, I got picked on a lot." He said, "Well, what'd you do?" I said, "Whatever it was, tell Andrew." So I went to Andrew and I said, "Look, is the kid picking on you?" "Yeah, he is." I said, "Well, Andrew, you got to punch him." He had to punch him in the nose, just once. And Andrew said, "I can't punch him. He's bullying me, but I just can't do it." And this went on for over a month and a half. Finally, Andrew punched him. And he said to me afterward, he said, "I didn't mean to hit him too bad, but I just hit him in the nose," and he left me alone. But even then, even in a state of offense, Andrew was kind. He couldn't hit the kid too hard. He also had an incredible sense of humor and I bought a canoe one time. It was a folding canoe. It was a bad decision. But it was one you meant to take into the woods and put together. So I took it to Andrew's place, Andrew and Bill and Susan's place, where they had a lake across from their home, and I put the thing together. And Andrew, of course, was there to help, and he was helpful as he could be. We got this little canoe together. It might have been all of 8 feet by the time you put it all in one place. Only big enough for one person, meant to be packed in and packed out. And he volunteered to get in it. I thought, no, you shouldn't do that. No, I should be the one to test this. I bought it. So on I got and promptly flipped. And Andrew never stopped laughing. He always had this sense of humor. And when I thought about that sense of humor, that was the one occasion that he would still laugh about it, even today. It was interesting to hear everybody speak about the character that he was, and I think it started from many of those experiences, but it's also bred in the bone from his parents. I know they'll miss him. I'm going to miss him, and I think I better stop. Thank you.
It's blackfish at play in Hermitage Bay, from Push Through across to Bloss Island. They broach and they spout and they lift their flukes out, and they wave to a town that is dying. Now it's many's the boat that has plied on the foam, hauling away, but there's many more fellas been leaving their homes where the whales make free in the harbor. It's at Portage in Maine. You'll see them again on their way to the hills of Alberta. With lopsided grins, they waggle their chins and they brag of the wage they'll be earning. Then it's quick, pull the string, boys, and get the tool out. Haul it away. But just 2 years ago, you could hear the same shout where the whales make free in the harbor. Free in the harbor. The blackfish are sporting again. Free in the harbor, untroubled by comings and goings of men who once did pursue them as oil from the sea, hauling away. Now they're Calgary roughnecks from Hermitage Bay, where the whales make free in the harbor. it's a living they found deep in the ground, and if there's doubts, it's best they ignore them, nor think on the bones, the crosses and stones of their fathers that came there before them. In the taverns of Edmonton, fishermen shout, haul it away, haul it away. Then have 300 years buried up by the bay, where the whales make free in the harbor. Free in the harbor, the blackfish are sporting again. Free in the harbor, untroubled by comings and goings of men who once did pursue them as oil from the sea. Falling away, now they're Calgary roughnecks from Hermitage Bay, where the whales make free in the harbor. Free in the harbor again. It's early up Ontario farm, chicken crow for day. I wish a girl in Annapolis apples up about Fundy's Day. Oh, it seems so far away. On the ridge above Acadia's town, to the valley down below, the evening shadow falls upon the families listening to the radio and watching the apples grow. Down on the farm, back among the family, away from Ontario, hear the ladies singing to their men, dancing it heel and toe, and watching the apples grow. I've seen the place I'd rather be. Your scummy lakes in the city of Toronto don't do a damn thing for me. I'd rather live by the sea. I've watched the bees and geese go by, a foxfoot in the snow. I've climbed the ridge of Gaspereau Mountain, looking to the valley below, and watching the apples grow. Down on the farm, back among the family, away from Ontario, hear the ladies singing to their men, dancing it heel and toe, and watching the apples grow. Sit down on the farm, back among the family, away from Ontario, hear the ladies singing to their men, dancing it heel and toe, and watching the apples grow. Sit down on the farm, back among the family, away from Ontario, hear the ladies singing to their men, dancing it heel and toe, and watching the apples grow. Watch the field behind the plow turn to straight dark roads. Feel the trickle in your clothes. Blow the dust caked from your nose. Hear the tractor's steady roar. Oh, you can't stop now. There's a quarter section more or less to go. And it figures that the rain keeps its own sweet time. You can watch it come for miles, but you guess you've got a while. So ease the throttle out ahead. Every rod's a game, and there's victory in every quarter mile. Poor old Kuzik down the road, the heartache, hail, and hoppers brought him down. He gave it up and went to town. took a heart attack and died at 42. You could see it coming on, 'cause he worked as hard as you. In an hour, maybe more, you'll be wet clear through. The air is cooler now. Pull your hat brim further down and watch the field behind the plow turn to straight dark roads. Put another season's promise in the ground. Any good, the money just might cover all the loans. You've mortgaged all you own. Buy the kids a winter coat. Take the wife back east for Christmas if you can. All summer she hangs on when you're so tied to the land. For the good times come and go, but at least there's rain, so this won't be barren ground when September rolls around. So watch the field behind the plow turn to straight dark roads. Put another season's promise in the ground. Watch the field behind the plow turn to straight dark roads. Put another season's promise in the ground.
Uncle Aubrey, you are absolutely right. This day is about the character of Andrew. As I listened to stories the other day and recollected what Mel had told me about Andrew, I couldn't help but notice that he was a man of character. And I've picked out just a few of those virtues that he shared with each of you and that you'll recognize from the stories and in what you saw in his life. Commitment. Every day of his life, Andrew demonstrated commitment, whether to his leisure pursuits, his job, his co-workers, his partner, or his daughters. Commitment is caring deeply about a person, a goal, a belief. Once we discern a direction, we go for it wholeheartedly, and we don't hold back, we don't second-guess our decisions or hesitate to act on it fully. We set our goals and we achieve them. We make promises and we keep them. We go the extra mile. Andrew showed us this. Keeping our commitments strengthens our inner integrity and deepens our capacity to carry our responsibilities with grace and good humor. Enthusiasm. Wild adventures matched step for step by Abby and Mel. Fishing, sledding with his friends, or playing down on the floor with Abby and Alicia. Enthusiasm is being filled with the Spirit. It literally comes from the Greek enthusiasmos, meaning God within, Spirit within. When we live with enthusiasm and we're open to the wonders that each day holds, we do things wholeheartedly, with zeal and eagerness, and we hold nothing back. We allow the excitement of the moment to fill us. We live in the moment and we appreciate what we have, finding joy in simple pleasures. We're cheerful and optimistic about what is to come. Enthusiasm helps us to imagine what is possible as we follow our dreams with true joy. Gentleness. Andrew was a gentle giant, coloring unicorn-like creatures with his daughter, or patiently hand-tying flies, or effortlessly reeling in his best catch of the weekend. He showed us gentleness. Gentleness is an attitude of tenderness and love toward all living things and the world around us. Gentleness flows from a desire not to harm anyone or anything. It takes strength to call on the self-control that gentleness requires, and being gentle with ourselves helps us to be more forgiving and kinder to others. Gentleness, as Andrew demonstrated it, is moving wisely, touching softly, speaking quietly, and thinking kindly. Taking the time to be gentle nurtures our own spirits and the spirit of those around us. Generosity. Sharing his knowledge and skills, teaching Abby to hand-tie flies, inviting others out on his riverboat, or cooking a delicious big game meal to share with family and friends. This was Andrew's generosity. Generosity is giving to others something that's of value to ourselves. It is a quality of spirit that calls us to share what we've been given. Every gift brings joy to the giver and to the receiver. Generosity springs from a sense of abundance and gratitude for the richness of life. We give cheerfully without expecting anything in return. Generosity encourages us to share the bounty. Wonder. Every time Andrew stepped into the woods, he felt nothing short of wonder, and he was at peace with everything around him. Wonder is being open to the beauty and mysteries of life. It is our soul's appreciation for what is precious and inspiring. When we look at the grandeur of nature, fully present in the moment, it can move us deeply. With wonder, we appreciate our connection to the universe, and we use our intuition to live in flow with nature and our fellow man. And the last virtue of character that I want to share is love. Love is at the center of our being. It is a vital force that gives us energy and direction. Love is the irresistible attraction and affection for a person, a place, an idea, or even for life itself. Love is cherishing others, treating them with tenderness. It thrives on acceptance and appreciation. Love has the power to heal. I'd like to read once more the Garnet Rogers lyric that Bill shared in his tribute to Andrew. It does well for describing the speed of a jet boat, and it does well for describing the fleetingness of a life. We are brief as summer lightning. We are swift as swallow's flight. We are sparks that spiral upward in the darkness of night. We're frost upon a window. We won't pass this way again. In the end, only love remains. Love. As Andrew did it, expressed with enthusiasm, generosity, nurtured by commitment and wonder, and liberally seasoned with his generosity. Love was Andrew's greatest gift. Andrew will be laid to rest at a later date in his beloved Nova Scotia. And a memorial gathering will be held on April 16th at 2 p.m. at the Turtleback Tap and Grill in Fall River, Nova Scotia, for all the friends who can join the family there. Now, please head out to Wembley, if you will, for refreshments and a time of visiting and hearing many more stories and sharing them from your heart. I know that Andrew's family would deeply love to hear what he meant to you. As we close, let's reflect quietly on the song Northwest Passage by Stan Rogers.
Just one time I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through a land so wide and savage, and make a Northwest Passage to the sea. Westward from the Davis Strait, 'tis there 'twas said to lie, the sea route to the Orient, for which so many died, seeking gold and glory, leaving weathered, broken bones, and a long forgotten lonely cairn of stones. Ah, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through a land so wide and savage, and make a Northwest Passage to the sea. 3 centuries thereafter, I take passage overland in the footsteps of brave Kelso, where his sea of flowers began, watching cities rise before me, then behind me sink again. This tardiest explorer, driving hard across the plain. Ah, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through a land so wide and savage, and make a Northwest Passage to the sea. And through the night behind the wheel, the mileage clicking west, I think upon Mackenzie, David Thompson, and the rest, who cracked the mountain ramparts and did show a path for me to race the roaring Fraser to the sea. Ah, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through a land so wide and savage, and make a Northwest Passage to the sea. How then am I so different from the first men through this way? Like them, I left a settled life, I threw it all away, to seek a Northwest Passage at the call of many men, to find there but the road back home again. Ah, tracing one warm line through a land so wide and savage, and make a northwest passage to the sea. I was younger, in the days of my youth, I used to sit down and watch the river go down, and see my dreams roll round the bend, hoping they'd come back again. Now a long time's gone by, and at least once a day I sit and think about when you were holy, and so eager to see what you could find. Now ain't it funny how we lost the time?